Welcome to an episode of Inner Work Guides, Alchemical Gnosis, Yoga of the West. I'm your host, John H. Reed III. Let's get to it. Not broken. The truth of the matter, there is not, nor has there ever been, something wrong with you. You, my friend, are not broken. This might seem like a paradox, because we are, after all, working on things about ourselves that we want to improve, elevate, or spiritualize. However, as I've said repeatedly, this practice is one of self-discovery. At the heart of this discovery, it will be found that there is nothing wrong with you, and you, yes, you, are perfect just as you are. In fact, the only thing that you can do is grow an understanding of who and what you truly are. Describing the work of inner alchemy as a process that elevates or spiritualizes might seem to imply that at some time there was a state of inferior being. However, in the biblical story of creation, you do not read, "and God saw it was bad." The concept that somehow at this present moment in time, we lack perfection or have some tint of unworthiness within us is the root of our problems in alchemy and in life. The spiritual perfection idealized and desired in the minds of many people today is a state of extreme unnaturalness. It appears as an almost zombie-like state in which there is no resistance, no problems, no anger, and sexual desire has all but been extinguished. This last one is the deepest mystery to me, especially since the placing of libido in a subject was the biblical culmination of any of God's emanative acts. But I digress. Let's take, for example, the picture of a young grapevine, since we're talking about unworthiness or something's wrong, apparently, with everything. So, though this vine strives towards the production of its own fruit, does it mean that the fruitless young vine has something wrong with it? Or perhaps observe the seed of Drosera. Years may pass without germination. Can you say there's something wrong with it? Will it not become what it's destined to be? Is the caterpillar imperfect because it does not yet have wings? You see, in the tumult of the restless mind, it is too easy to imagine the future and compare it to the present. The resultant discrepancy leads one to an erroneous perception concerning the inherent perfection of what is. If you were born in the West, you have at the very least been exposed to the Judeo-Christian concept of original sin. Most religions have some similar story to illustrate the perceived imperfection of humanity and the need to gain enlightenment, salvation, or whatever have you. While from a certain perspective this is true, the concept of original sin needs to be understood in the true light which the story of the Adamic fall tried to impart. The original meaning of the word sin in Hebrew was to miss the mark. There are other subtle meanings to the word, but they all mean essentially the same thing, a miscalculation rather than a blazing, intentional, immoral decision. Sin, or missing the mark, was a term used in archery when one missed the target. It intimates that there's a problem with perception, hand-eye coordination in archery, or misperception of truth when dealing with matters of the soul. The original sin was not that Adam and Eve ate the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The sin was that in the opening of their eyes, and this just means coming out of an innocent childlike state into self-awareness of me and everything else, They experienced shame about their nakedness. And again, this is a metaphor about how society seeks to get us to conform by suppressing natural instincts, intuition, etc. And so they sought to hide themselves from God. Now, it needs to be realized that one of the attributes of the Judeo-Christian God is that it is omnipresent. Omnipresent does not mean all-seeing. That's actually omniscience. Omnipresence means being physically present everywhere at once. This is not some disembodied, standoff, all-observing presence, but rather omnipresence indicates that from the greatest multiverse we can imagine down to the smallest subatomic particle, all of it is the being, the body of God. We have another word for this that might help you wrap your mind around the concept. We call it matter. However, in Hermeticism, matter refers to both the physical and non-physical, from the sublimest thought to the densest material. It is all this omnipresent oneness. So in seeking to hide, we can see that by metaphor, Adam and Eve built around the true nature of themselves all manner of misconceptions about the innate truth of who and what they are, or were, or are. A life, therefore, is not real. Truth is always eternal. It is things as they are, were, and are to come. No matter how many times a person asks you to write 2 + 2 = 3, it will never have any base in fact, truth, or being, because it isn't, it never was, nor can it ever be. Cover yourself in as many fig leaves as you want, you cannot hide from the omnipresent oneness that emanates and sustains your being. And consequently, the sooner we realize ourselves as one member of the universal being, the sooner we realize our inherent perfection. I define this work of inner alchemy as the art of realizing the perfection of life. I say realize, not discover or make, because when you realize something, you gain understanding or grasp of that which is. Realizing the perfection of something implies that there is a completeness or wholeness to its existence, and that any appearance to the contrary lies in the observer, not the observed. Yes, alchemy is about bringing into perpetual conscious realization the unique interrelatedness and wholeness of creation, but not in some obfuscating release in which we lose our identities. If we look around us, it is apparent that life is in the business of emanation. Truly, all that is emanated by life is good. This realization of life's perfection, of divine providence's beneficent grace, begins with the acceptance of our perceived imperfections. This acceptance is not acquiescence. It is not saying that one can never realize something different than what we know now. The paradox is that regardless of our erroneous perception, the immediate expression of life we see before our eyes is perfect, complete, and whole. Now, the animating force we call life emits a certain pressure on creation. Though the ever-present now of life is always perfect, this expression of life invariably gives rise to cognition of seemingly more complete and whole states of being. By the very nature of its design, life continually plays a game of one-upmanship with itself. From perfection to perfection, the one thing transmutes. We're going to finish Not Broken next week. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for listening to this episode of Inner Work Guides Alchemical Gnosis, Yoga of the West. Don't forget to follow or subscribe. Visit our website at www.innergarden.org. For more information about Hermetic training in practical laboratory alchemy or inner work, write to info@innergarden.org.